Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to PSGL. George Morgan here, your commentator, alongside me, TK, who is going to be rounding off the season with me.
Down the inside.
Absolutely possible scene.
This is for the win between these two.
I'm on the edge of my seat.
He needs to get it done now.
Blakey will dive to the inside.
We'll go bust. We've got our elbows out.
Ronar takes the lead.
Because here comes Alfie Butcher.
Can't really complain with that one.
It's not going to be easy. The pressure is on, of course.
Yarda Watmere is your champion.
Hello, good evening, and a warm welcome to you. Welcome back to PSGL. My name is Frostbreath, aka Rob, and I'll be your commentator for tonight. But I'm not alone. No, I've got somebody with me here. It is the one and only Aro. How are you doing?
Yeah, pretty well. It's my actually first time commentating PSGL, so looking forward to it. I know there's some quick drivers in this tier, and it's going to be a
Ooh,
fun
yeah.
one here in Texas.
I've been taking a look as well because normally I'm being commentating on F4 instead of F3, so it's only been since I've noticed since about half an hour that I'll be commentating here tonight due to some late last-minute changes. Unfortunately, those things happen from time to time, but here we are and ready to rumble. We're currently waiting for the lobby to fill up, which does allow us a little bit of time to talk about what's coming up tonight, and that is, of course, the third round of this season. And I believe this time, finally, the calendar should actually be correct in my OBS for once. There we are. The third round is indeed Texas, aka Circuit of the Americas, COTA in short. And I believe that is promising to be a brilliant race, Aro, because this track does have plenty of overtaking opportunities, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. There's obviously the main straight, the back straight, but also final sector, such wide corners. A lot of different apexes you can take through that final sector that really opens up a lot of overtaking moves. So we're going to look forward to see what the drivers can do. But it is a bit of a weird setup track. I've seen a lot of drivers use different setups. Some using high wings for, of course, that first sector. The S is really tricky on the tires early on in the race. But we'll have to see what setups can the drivers go for. You. Low wings can help you as well down the very long straights. So I think it'll be quite evident whenever we see I think we'll see at least one or two drivers where it's really clear, oh, this person's gaining in the first sector, this person's gaining down the straights.
I mean, that's going to be interesting to watch. If somebody just flies on every single straight available, we'll know they have low wing setups. If not, and they're going to be fast in, like, say, turns 2 all the way through turn 10, we know they've got some high wing setups. So that's going to be interesting to keep an eye out for. Also interesting to watch, of course, is the standings, because so far we've got one driver dominating this tier so far. It's Gabor Xantos in a firm lead at the moment, 14 points clear from the next man, which is Francesco Lago in the V-Carb, second place, 14 points behind. As I said, it's nearly an entire race win ahead in the standings. So it's safe to say Gabor is currently on a roll. Started 4th last time round, then went on to win by 7.7 seconds. Also, good to note, you might have noticed that Alexander Demas has finished 10th in the end, even though DK came across the line in P4. That's because of a post-race penalty by the steward. He's been given a 5-second penalty after the race due to a collision with, I believe, Valentino Labella, who on his turn actually managed to get 3 seconds removed from his name, allowing him to finish P8 in the end. So they have swapped around positions a little bit here and there. And those last race results, I believe, we're going to be seeing on the screen right now. Round 2, Belgium for F3 right there. You can see the steward penalties there for Demas and the removal for Labella. So there is that for you. I believe our championship leader is present tonight once again. He indeed is alongside Wojtek Steg in the other Red Bull. We're still missing 2 drivers. I believe, Aro, you haven't been able to join the lobby as well just yet, so let's hope that thing will be resolved soon. Looking at this list of names present tonight, do we think that once again Gabor is going to dominate, or will his run of brilliant race wins end tonight?
Yeah, well, Gabor we seen last time out in Belgium just kind of gapped the field, and he just seemed to be in a different class to everyone else. So we'll have to see as time goes on. I think Gabor might be the favourite. Currently leads the championship, back-to-back wins as we open up the season. And can anyone stop him here? That'll be a really good test. And I would even think if Gabor dominates again, maybe he should move up to F2 at this point. Because it might be embarrassing for the rest of the season if he's just winning every race.
Then he might want to be moved up another tier, all the way up to F2. So, yeah, we'll find out if that happens tonight or not. So far, I can tell you the other people in the lobby at the moment are in the Alpine. We've got Zalen Bieder and Tamás Kakony. We've got quite a lot of Hungarians in this tier. I just noticed 3 of them, in fact, tonight. Then in the Kicksaubers, it's Lucas Beisner alongside Dennis Langrock, of course. Lucas having joined from F5 last season, 2 tiers up to F3 here. Then in the V-Carb, it's currently Kasper Flach, I believe it's pronounced correctly. He's alone. The other V-Carb is missing as we speak. Unfortunately, some drivers haven't turned up. Valentino Labella in the Haas alongside Igor Pajezecki. For the Mercedes, we've got Alexander Dimas alongside, let me scroll down a little bit there, it's Oleg Nabadovsky in the second Mercedes. Then in the Ferrari, you've got Ave Gabadi. Unfortunately, Jona Martens cannot join tonight. He's absent. So the second seat is unoccupied as we speak. Then Daniel Keijer and Tomasetto Ilia in the Aston Martins. In the McLarens, we've got Steven Vaso and Victor Whitler. And then for the Williams cars, Carlos Galindo and Jensen Rausen. And I think that pretty much shows all of them. I believe you've been able to join now, Auro. That is excellent. And we are about to ready up. Of course, it's going to be a little bit difficult for the both of us to predict who is going to be in pole position. As of course, as this is only our first race we're commentating on here in F3 this season. But could it be another one for Alexander Dimas? Will he take revenge, so to say, for last week and maybe claim a win tonight, or at least another pole position? Or will Gabor Xantos try and dominate even further? We'll find out in a few minutes' time.
Yeah, absolutely looking forward to it. I do think Gabor would be the favourite following the back-to-back wins, but I would say out of the couple drivers that I know, the only drivers I know other than Gabor would be Steven Vaso and Zalmbieta. Zalmbieta P6 in the first race, but down in P16 in his last race, didn't have the best qualifyings, but I would like to see what he can do. Very quick driver for FER. We've got a lot of drivers here representing their teams. Couple FER, couple TES and VNT, even SCI mentioned there as well. A lot of quick teams in here, even though they're not necessarily representing their teams today, because of course they're all just representing either Alpine or McLaren or whatever constructor they've been given here in PSGL.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen. Steven Vaso, you mentioned. I remember him last season having so much bad luck, not only here in PSGL, but in several other team events and leagues too. Just disconnects all over the place, issues with wheels and pedals. It just really wasn't his time to be driving around there. We know he's fast. I know he can fight for pole position. So I wouldn't be surprised if tonight he might potentially be a favorite as well. Let's have one more look at the standings as the lobby counter is finally counting down. We'll soon be starting. Steven Vaso in the standings here in F3. I'm trying to flip here through the list. He's currently 4th in the standings with a 2nd place last week in Belgium. So it looks like his luck is about to be turning, and we might see some Vaso brilliance tonight. But then again, there's a lot of other quick drivers. I just saw Jeremy Gallonier joining in the 2nd Ferrari seat in place of Jona Martens. So that means we'll be having 19 drivers to look out for tonight. We're waiting for them to select their tires, and I think, Aro, it's safe to say, as per usual, they're picking the harder tire option.
Yeah, definitely. Kota is one of the tracks where the softs just do not work, so it'll be a medium hard or even a medium hard, depending. I'm not sure if I've seen too many 2-stops at Kota on this game. Have you seen many 2-stops?
I know that Austria is on the verge of being a 2-stop. I know that Brazil is definitely a 2-stop. As for the other tracks, I feel like at the start of the game, people were thinking that a lot of them were 2-stops, but the more they got to know the game and the way the tires work and the handling is, it turned out that most tracks are actually still a 1-stop anyway, and I think Kota is no different. I think a 1-stop is pretty much doable. But I could be entirely wrong. There's still a lot to learn about this game. We're not even, we're almost halfway in about the life cycle of this game, and a lot of things are still being discovered about it. So we'll have to find out. I think it's a 1-stop, and it's safe to say usually they start on the mediums, then swap to the hards for the remainder of the race. But you never know.
Yeah, I would agree. I wouldn't say that essentially Codemasters made a bad game, as in a lot of people last game were complaining that every track's a 1-stop, and people are saying that, oh, tracks are becoming increasingly a 1-stop on this game. I just do think that comes down to the skill of the drivers. They've all adapted to this game and are able to pull off a one-stop on so many tracks. Personally, if it were me out there driving, I might be on a 3-stop with how bad I am with tire management. So it really does come down to the skill of these drivers. We'll see them probably manage the mediums to lap 12 onwards. You could see them even earlier. The only criticism I would give with this game is sometimes the hards are probably way stronger than they should be. You may see drivers in as early as lap 10 and then doing 18 laps on the hards, or maybe even further. And, you know, sometimes they can go the whole way. But we'll have to see as time progresses in this short qualifying session. Everyone out of the box to do their first laps here in this short qualifying.
It's busy out on track tonight, isn't it? Tomasz Kokeny is by far and away the first driver to start a hot lap, followed by our championship leader, Gabor Xantos, in the Red Bull, about to turn through the final corner. But we're watching Tomasz Kokeny just going across the line and then heading, storming towards turn 1, all the way uphill, of course. This track here, this track's so incredibly wide, it could easily be 5 or 6 wide into turn 1 come race day. But of course, that would be quite optimistic, to say the least. Then come the famous S section here in sector number 1. We'll soon see the first banker time of this particular sector at the end of turn number 7. It is a 24.500. Then, of course, heading to the next part of the track, which is entirely different as we go downhill once more through turn 10 and then to the hairpin of turn 11, and then to go on to the back straight of the track with DRS about a few hundred meters further down the line. Gabor Xantos following suit. He's just finished his first sector as well, as of many other drivers. There's a bit of a queue forming up in the final 2 corners that you can see on the mini-map right there, only on the McLaren. They are going through turn 17 as we speak. Then turn 12 for Kokeny right here, and about to finish the second sector. There we are, 1 minute 0.449 so far. Not bad whatsoever, but Gabor Xantos goes quicker as the purple line on the second sector disappears for Kokeny, as he now went through one of the trickiest corners of the track, turn 15. And then, of course, a very long right-hander, which is technically 3 corners in one go. Then 2 more to go, turns 19 and 20. Don't go too wide here, nicely within the white lines, but already quite on the limit for the Alpine driver. And then the final corner here, onto the main straight, across the line. A blisteringly fast 1 minute 30.257, but Gabor Xantos, well, he takes away about 0.2 of a second from that one and goes into the 1 minute 30.0, and I wouldn't be surprised if we're gonna hit the 1 minute 29s tonight.
Yeah, Gabor's already 600ths away, so I think it'll be a matter of time before we see the drivers into the 29s. How many the drivers will be in the 29s we will see, but the track evolution on this game, I will say, is some of the best it's been in quite some years. The track evolution normally is quite evident. You can really see it as the session progresses, and I think we will see drivers firmly inside the 29s. But currently, Gabor showing why he's leading the championship, 2/10 clear of Tomasz Kokeny.
It's quite something, isn't it? There's nobody able to touch his time. Oleg Nabadovsky slots into 3rd place, just a little bit behind Tomasz Kokeny. Jensen Rosen, though, has managed to get within 6/100ths of a second of Gabor Xantos, 61 milliseconds to be precise. Now slots into 2nd place. We're watching Stephen Vaso going through the final 2 corners as well. And then we're going to find out where he's going to position himself. His teammate Victor Whittler currently sitting P5 with a 1 minute 30.3. And Stephen Vaso, there he goes, 4 milliseconds quicker than Tomasz Kokeny. Into P3 he goes. Only 3 drivers remain without a lap time. Ave Gabadi currently sitting right here. Lucas Beisner as well. And Tomasetto Ilya, I believe he was not pushing anymore for a second hot lap. And everybody is going to get back into their boxes straight away to get ready for the second runs. So far, though, I think it's safe to say that Gabor is smashing it, but Jensen Rosen is definitely on the hunt.
Yeah, closest driver so far, he's only 600ths off Gabor, and if it weren't for Jensen Rosen, we'd be saying Gabor probably should move up a tier, but Jensen really keeping him keen. The gap isn't that big. If it was 2/10, we'd be having some serious questions, but now that's inside a 10th, you're like, oh, Jensen Rosen could be within a chance of snatching pole here in this short qualifying session.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, of course, last time round in Spa in Belgium, The top 4 was separated by exactly 1/10 of a second from what I saw. The top 3, in fact, well within a 1/10 of a second. So that was must have been quite an interesting thing to watch right there, especially on a track that long. To have the margins being that tiny is telling a lot about the competitiveness of this particular tier. Jack Harrington in the chat saying there will be huge improvements for sure. I reckon a high 7 or low 8 pole position. I wouldn't be surprised at all. I'm just wondering who's going to be capable of doing that exact lap time. So far, it's the biggest margins we are seeing is Igor Pajezecki with a 1 minute 30.9 all the way in last place. But I feel like himself and Dennis and perhaps even Casper and Jeremy have been making some mistakes here and there, or maybe just haven't really found their rhythm just yet. Especially Jeremy, of course, since he only just jumped in literally last second to take the place in the second Ferrari after some other drivers remained unresponsive in Discord. Sitting at P13 at the moment. And already somebody coming out for their second run. It is Tomasetto Ilya.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, Jeremy, I'm surprised he's the only driver that is in the lobby that has somehow trademarked their own name. That's impressive. I didn't know you could do that, but Tomasetto Ilya is the next driver out of the box in the Aston Martin. And I wonder, on this game, what are you supposed to do on the outlap? I've seen drivers just chucking it around. Some drivers take it very slowly. Tomasetto Ilya seems to be taking it quite slowly. But what is the strategy on the outlap?
Yeah, I mean, tires are already quite warm when you go to pit box, mostly, of course, due to the tire warmers being quite effective this game, I have to say. So I feel like it's basically keeping them in a certain window here and there. You know, you don't see them weave a lot anymore on their outlaps. You can see him here on the back straight, barely moving left to right, just going straight on, just using the DRS a little bit, flapping it open and closing it again, basically. Just taking it easy. The brakes, of course, are important to warm up, otherwise you'll have a big problem in turn number 1, because that's a very heavy braking zone indeed. But other than that, it's just making sure that the tires still have plenty of life in them when they start a hot lap.
Yeah, I will say on F1 23, I believe, it was a way to warm your tires up that was very strong, was to hold the brakes when you're going around on the lap, but that was definitely removed for 24, but I think I've seen some drivers using it on 25 again. Don't think it's as effective as it was on 23, but I'm going to keep an eye to see, is anyone else using that to warm their tires, that they're just slightly holding the brake. I think I am seeing some drivers just with a little bit of the foot on the brake, and not as big as it was on 23, but that just is warming the brakes as they go around on their out laps. But Tomasetto Ilya into turn 1 will start his lap.
Yep, let's see. The pressure will be on him a little bit already. He's missed his first run, probably invalidated somewhere, most likely around turns 19 and 20, because that part particularly is notorious for going too wide. Same goes, of course, for the exit of turn 8, where we're watching right here. Let's see if he can keep it within the wide lines here. Nice and easy, does it in fact well within the wide lines. Looks like he has got his car setup well sorted out. Then, of course, coming up the hairpin once again. Slightly wide, I have to say, right there, or perhaps that might be the ideal line for him. Then, of course, the DRS straight once more, as it again is really busy in the final sector, and hopefully Tomasetto is not going to suffer from that one. Only a few corners ahead are 3 cars with barely a gap in between them, and they are going to slow down a lot to make sure they find plenty of time. Purple middle sector apparently for Ilya, but I believe a 1 minute 0.450 is about as quick as Cockney was in the second sector. Then off he goes then through the final few corners. Is he gonna hit the traffic, or is he just going to miss it? This is going to be a scary one. There's still 2 cars in the final 2 corners. Lifts a little bit in turn 19. Thankfully the McLaren there moving out of the way easily, and Tomasetto Ilya is gonna come across the line right there. 1 minute 30.177. That is fast indeed. Slots straight away into 3rd place, but that of course is after track evolutions have taken place, and we'll have to find out if the other drivers are going to find more improvement, as we see Gabor Xantos invalidating out of turn 9 as he nearly lost control of the Red Bull right there, so there will be no improvement for him just yet.
Next across line is Dennis Landrock into P6 as Av Gabari up to P11 as well. They finally got their first lap times on the board. It's just Lucas Beisner yet to get a lap on the board, and he's invalid as Thomas Kokokane goes quickest and is the first driver into the 29s today.
So far, so good. It's Kokony indeed looking quick as well. And Jensen Rausen slots once again in behind him. He finds that front row slot really interesting, but so far it's P2 at best. And he'll probably be a bit frustrated about that one. We're watching Oleg Napadovsky, his teammate Alexander Dimas just crossed the line, sits in P9 at the moment. And we're just waiting to see what his teammates can do. A yellow flag on the back straight for the Aston Martin, I believe, of Tomasetto Ilia, who has done a first brilliant run. Valentino Labella just ahead of him, 3 milliseconds quicker. Both Italians right alongside one another on the second and third row, P4 and 5. Oleg Nabadowski improves up to P6, half a tenth quicker than his previous attempt next across the line. Wojtek Steg hasn't improved, stays P15. A Ferrari there crossing the line is Jeremy Gallagher, only P15 now, just ahead of Steg. Then the McLaren of Steven Vasel, there he goes, 1 minute 29.966. It's a small bit quicker than Tomasz Kokody, but it is for now good enough for provisional pole. And it looks like he's going to have a good run around Kota tonight.
Yeah, fantastic lap from Steven there. Has been quick in qualifying, I believe, so far, but had a poor opening race, but last time out finished P2, and maybe Steven could now even start from pole today here in Kota and potentially use that to be to help him get his first victory of the season.
Yep, let's see if he can manage to do it. There's still, of course, there's a few minutes of qualifying to go. We're watching Lucas Beisner, the only driver remaining well at the lap time so far. He's been struggling a little bit tonight. Let's hope he'll find some big improvements come the final attempt. He's moving out of the way of several cars, not realizing that all of them have already done a hot lap as he goes across the grass. And then into the pit box, only to realize that Haas ahead of him does the exact same thing. So there's that for you, but better safe than sorry. And rather not have a qualifying ban due to impeding, just because you were assuming that the driver behind was no longer on a hot lap. So well done to Lucas. Let's hope he can find his improvement on the final run. I can't see how much time remains because there's a lot of yellow flags going on for drivers going very slow indeed. But I'm sure it's about 5-ish minutes, I would say.
Yeah, I think like Casper Flash on that lap could have potentially been blocked by a Mercedes. I think as they came into the pit lane, it seemed like Casper... I can't fully tell when a driver's annoyed, but when you go on board with them, sometimes you can see just by the way they're moving the steering wheel. It seemed like Casper was a bit annoyed there. I think he may have been blocked as we entered the final sector, so Casper hasn't got a strong lap here down in P18, along with Lucas Beisner, still yet to get a lap time on the board. And there's only 3.5 minutes remaining left in the session. They'll really only have one attempt to improve. Steven Vasso, currently on pole, is leading the field. But as we've mentioned, Gabor did set the quickest lap time on that first run. Could we see Gabor potentially improve here in this final run? And I think it will be the final run. The softs are not a great tire on this track, and you realistically only get one run in qualifying on the softs. I've not really seen many people at this track go for 2 runs and it still be quick. It does wear a lot even in qualifying, so we will see. Can even Gabor's teammate as well, Wojciech Steg, down in P16 as well. He'll want to improve. Zalmbiater down in P17 as well. Those two have left the box now. They'll lead the final runs here in qualifying.
Yep, it's another reason why the drivers want to keep it easy on their outlaps with their soft tires wearing this fast. Not on this track, but many tracks in particular. Those tracks with high-speed corners. For example, Sector 1 here, a lot of high-speed corners there, of course, which means tire wear is going to be quite the thing once again. But you can see here, Wojtek Steg, though, is doing a huge amount of weaving on the back straight. He's thinking quite differently in terms of what he should do with his tires. Fascinating to see how drivers are thinking differently, which is, of course, interesting to keep an eye out for. Also interesting to mention, which I forgot at the start of this session, that Gabor Xont is not only leading the Drivers' Championship, RO, he's also leading the Constructors' Championship entirely by himself.
Well, maybe Gabor is doing his best Max Verstappen impression this season, and maybe if he doesn't get moved up to F2, then maybe Gabor could have a Max 2023-esque season here in PSGL F3. But we'll see what happens here. 1.5 minutes left of the session. Zalambeder will be the first driver to start their final run in the session, and it will be everyone's final run here, as no one will have enough time to go for a second run, even if they make a mistake. So this is crunch time here in Kota.
Yeah, perhaps Zalen can do another run in case he messes up in Sector 1. Other than that, it's going to be too little too late, I'm afraid. Wojtek Steyr, Kasper Flach have also started their final runs as well. Thomas Ilya, of whom we've got a lot of fans in the YouTube chat tonight, all cheering them on. He is currently happily sitting in P6 and perhaps will find some more time. His fellow countryman, Valentino Labella, only 3 milliseconds ahead of him, as we're watching Zalambeder going through the hairpin for one final time here in qualifying. There's a huge queue in the final sector, by the way. One of the Saubers has just decided to overtake an Aston Martin, and now it's pretty much come to an entire halt. I'm keeping a big eye on the minimap right here. It's absolutely fascinating to watch, as Zalambeder does actually invalidate his hot lap. He was half a tenth quicker through Sector 2. And now the question is, what's he going to do? Is he going to try again? I'm afraid he's actually using now up a lot of his tires. He's speeding through the corners as fast as he can to make sure he can get another run in, but it's 14 seconds remaining. Can he make it then? This might be one of the more exciting things in qualifying to watch. It's Zalambeder going absolutely nuts to the final few corners to make sure he makes it. 3 seconds, 2, 1, 0, and that is not the, yeah, it is the checkered flag. He misses it by about half a second. That is a big shame. He will not be able to get another hot lap in then, so we're swapping our attention to the other drivers still going round. Gabor is going, what? Oh, he's invalidated. Yep, half a tenth quicker through Sector 2. Big shame there. He will not be in pole position then tonight. So who else is it going to be? Tomasz Kokony flying through turn number 19. Thomas Ilya can manage only P5 for now. Tomasz Kokony, though, can he improve? He can't. He does not improve. So who can then try and beat Steven Vaso? Is it perhaps Jensen Rausen? What's he gonna do then? 2 more corners to go in the Williams right there. Next across the line is one of the Saubers as well. That is Dennis Langrock, stays in P8. Looks like Track Evolution isn't as big anymore in the final run. And there goes Jensen Rausen. 29.891 for pole position. Steven Vaso then, question mark, does cross the line. Has actually managed to go back into the pit lane, so never mind that one. He's not gonna be in pole position either. And that means, unless somebody can pull up a huge surprise, Victor Whitler just went 3 tenths quicker in the middle sector, so perhaps some big surprises coming from him then. Carlos Galindo going into P12, and it is Victor Whitler! He just misses out by 3 milliseconds there, Aro, for a pole position. That was nearly the surprise of the session.
Absolutely from nowhere. 3 thousandths off pole. That was a spectacular lap on his final run, and you would have just loved to see him if he had that extra 4 thousandths in the bag out of nowhere to snatch pole. But I'm sure McLaren will be very happy about that. P2 and P3. Although I will say we did see Steven Vaso leave the session. He did invalidate his final run, but he also left the session. So hopefully his teammate can get him back in again, so that he doesn't miss out. But there is your top 10, Rob.
Ah, yeah. Well, I mean, brilliant. And I didn't see Steven disconnect because for some reason my game is windowed. That's a good reason actually, but for some reason my Windows taskbar just hovers above the bottom part of my game, so any join or leave messages I can't see. So if somebody disconnects, I'm unaware until I actually see a ghosted car. Steven Vaso indeed has been kicked out of the lobby, and apparently we're not restarting, so that means Steven will have his qualifying set on apparently, and he will not be able to change it for the race. So that might spell trouble then, as his old bad luck has returned potentially for tonight's session. We can now see race day here. It's overcast, a lot of clouds hovering above Kota. Perhaps a sign of rain, perhaps not. We'll never really know until the rain actually hits, or maybe it just doesn't. It is as simple as that. But then, we're going to have to make some predictions for the race here. Are the top three within a tenth of a second? The front row, 3 milliseconds apart. Who's going to be the better man? Is it going to be Jensen Rausen, or is it going to be Victor Whittler?
Well, I'm going to give you a different answer. I'm going to say Gabor is going to come up from P4. I think he qualified P4 last time out in Belgium, and I think we might see it again. I think he does have a lot of pace in hand. He actually invalidated his last 2 runs in qualifying. He literally, on his banker, got P4, so I think Gabor is still the strongest driver out there, but brilliant laps there from Jensen and Victor, who start on the front row here. Also, Steven Vasso, as you mentioned, might not have his race setup on, so he may struggle in this one. We will see how much impact. This is probably a good indicator to see how much impact a quali and a race setup have on you. If Steven really struggles, that'll show you how much setup plays into this one. But it's going to be an exciting one.
Well, let's see. This might be a tentative start because a call for a restart has just been made in the chat, and it actually has been confirmed by the tier coordinator. So this start you're watching right now is not the official start, as Jensen Rausen does try to fend off Victor Whittler in turn 1. They do go side by side, 3 wide in fact, for P3, 4 and 5. I wonder who's going to be the first to find out that it is a restart. I believe Avon Kasper have been the quickest to react. Steven Vaso, of course, does the same thing, and I think by this point, the more people retire, the more notifications the other drivers will be receiving that we will indeed be restarting. And that, of course, is great news for Steven Vaso, who just can't seem to shake off his bad luck with disconnects and all of that sort of stuff. And Casper is not happy about it. He has to redo the grid, of course, by hand. And he doesn't really like doing that, apparently. So there's that. He's going to do a new lobby. And by this point, half the lobby has retired. So that's good to see that they're reacting quickly. And that means we'll be having some extra time to talk about qualifying. RO and... oh, there goes Jensen Rausen. Fall into the wall. Loses his front wing. Not his wheels, though. There he goes. Retires straight away. Always fascinating to watch these tentative starts. And see who crashes the hardest, pretty much. That's what the match is all about now.
I just love to see drivers of this quality. As soon as a restart is called, they turn it into the worst 5-lapper lobby you've ever seen in your life.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, some 5-lapper lobbies are even worse than this, to be fair.
Well, at least the Red Bulls are both still out there, so I think it's ending as a Red Bull 1-2 in this hypothetical scenario. But,
2023 flashbacks.
Yeah. Both of the Red Bulls finally retire and we can get a restart going. But I will say, we still have more time at least to chat about, as Tomasato Ilia rejoins the lobby. And we do have more time to chat about the strategy leading up to the race. But I will say, on that final run in qualifying, there was a lot of drivers up at the front who invalidated their final run. And that did allow the likes of Victor to jump all the way up to P2, because there was so many drivers who really messed up their final run. I feel like there's a lot of drivers that maybe are slightly out of position as a result. So we're going to have to see how that plays out in the race.
Yeah, I can't help but notice that, you know, the pressure turns out to be really on them on the final runs. A lot of drivers tend to invalidate their final runs these days. It feels like maybe the nerves get to them, maybe they want to push a little bit too much. They can't seem to get the job done as much as in the past. I feel like, I'm not sure if you experience the same thing, Aro, but I feel like, yeah, but that's become a bit of a trend, a bit of a worrying trend, to be fair.
What I think it comes down to is, as you get higher up in the leagues, especially here in PSGL, the leagues are so close, it's so competitive that in order to get that extra 10th to jump you a couple places, you have to take risks. And it just comes down to drivers getting greedy. And when you get too greedy, you invalidate your lap. And that, I think, is what is really the root cause of a lot of these mistakes that we see here in qualifying.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point indeed. In the same time, I'm watching the chat as well about the reactions of the drivers. It's also, of course, confirmed that the weather will once again be set to dynamic. So whatever weather it was in this race, we'll throw it in the bin. And that means a new set of weather will be coming up. Also, of course, all of the soft tires will be reset to their freshest state. So they might potentially want to use it if the safety car comes out on the final, say, 3 laps. Then maybe the soft tires might be useful, or perhaps not. It's difficult to say on a track like this. Let's see. Jensen Rausen in the chat saying he's missed a few corners. And let's see. Tomasz Kokeny was potentially on his way to a 0.7, or was it Jensen Rausen? They're discussing it at the moment. Mine was a mid 0.7. Tomasz says the predicted high 7 or 8 pole position by Jack in the chat, unfortunately, didn't come through. Perhaps it will come through for F2, which will, by the way, be starting in 24 minutes time. They might be able to achieve that particular pole position time. Unfortunately, it wasn't meant to be for the F3 tier. The best lap time being a 1 minute 29.891 by Jensen Rausen. 3 milliseconds clear from Victor Whittler. Steven Vaso in third, alongside him Tomasz Kokeny on the second row in fourth. Gabor Xontes will be starting for P5. His initial run indeed being good enough for that position, so there might be something to come from him as well. Thomas Ilya then alongside him. Then the Haas duo, Igor Piasecki and Valentino Labello in P7 and 8. Then the Mercedes duo actually alongside them. On the fifth row in P9 and 10, Alexander Dimas, Oleg Napadovsky. Then Daniel Keijer, Dennis Langrock, Carlos Galindo in 13th, Eve Gabadi P14. Then Wojtek Stijk and Kasper Vlach in 15th and 16th. Jeremy Gallonier being delighted that he's not starting last in P17. Salen Bieder in P18 and Lucas Beissner starting from the back of the field. And that's a bit of a worrying gap Lucas has to the rest of the field. Aro, it's 2 tenths away from the next car.
Which driver is this?
Lucas Beissner at the last place, 2 tenths away from P18.
He had the opposite scenario. I did mention that some drivers get greedy, whereas he had to be conservative on his final run because he had validated his first 2 runs. So he just really needed to get a lap on the board. So that's probably why we see him a bit off the rest of the field.
Yeah, let's hope he can make up some places from there. Of course, he was moved up 2 tiers since last season. He drove in F5, finished in the top 4, top 5 there in the driver's standings. Moved up 2 tiers all the way to F3. And hopefully he can show off some of his brilliant pace, which I know he has. But I also know he's got a lot of bad luck. So perhaps that once again hit him tonight in Kota. He's on a bit of the same page as Steven Vaso, who I hope for his sake will no longer have any disconnects. Otherwise that P3 might turn into absolutely nothing, which would be a big shame indeed. We're just waiting at the moment for things to get underway. It's currently being reset. The lobby has already been opened. Everybody's in as we speak. Aro, I do not see you in there.
Oh yeah, I tried to join off the Steam profile, but it didn't work. I'll try again. But
in the meantime, in the background of my camera screen, you can see a cat sitting there in between the curtains. I do have a cat for these coming 6 weeks. My brother is has gone off to Japan with his wife for the next 6 or 7 weeks. And now his cat is staying over with me. No worries, we won't hear him in the stream as she's a really... it's actually she, not a he. She is a really calm cat, so no worries right there. I can see it's readying up, so Aro, you gotta hurry. Quick.
I had loads of errors, so now I have to join late. I've had to reset my game because as I went to join, it just kept giving me an error code. So I think I'm gonna be late joining.
Are you able to join, or should I try and?
If you can add me before you load in, it'll make things easier.
I'm gonna have to be really quick to do that. I'm not sure if I can actually.
Because I can join off Steam, but I did try that with...
no, just too late. Dang it.
I'll try to join off Casper's profile here, and hopefully it stops giving me error codes.
Fingers crossed. We'll have to wait for them to once again select their setups and their tires, so there shouldn't be too much pressure just yet. And then we'll be going into the race for the second attempt with a restart having happened already. I think in the announcements a week ago, they had a full restart as well. Quite a few minutes into the race. They will have a fuel restart for 50% of the race as well. Dynamic weather and of course quality grid. So something bad must have happened back then. Let's hope everything will remain stable from this point onwards as we swap to the race indeed, and we'll find out what the weather is. Well, it looks like quite a different story this time round. It's a lot more sunny. In fact, there's no clouds whatsoever, and the crowd is quite happy
Rob,
about it,
what
as
is
you
your-
can see them.
What is your EA? I'm gonna have to add you.
My EA is Frostbreath 111. Now everybody watching it knows it as well. Oh well.
Unfortunately, it would not let me join off Casper, so it is the only thing we can do, unfortunately.
Alright, let's
Because
see.
it is not allowing me to join off Casper for whatever reason.
I'll try and quickly invite you before the race starts. We'll she'll be showing the viewers the standings for a little bit. Apologies about these issues right here. Can't find you, frankly.
These technical difficulties happen from time to time, but hopefully we can get it sorted before it's light set away we go.
Is your Steam name the same?
Yep, yeah, everything's the same.
No, we're starting already. I've got to. I'm sorry, really. I've got to cover this one, unfortunately. Otherwise, we're going to miss the start of the race. There they go. Off they go. Jensen Rausen from pole position. Victor Whittler this time not alongside him because Jensen Rausen quickly covered the inside. That means Victor Whittler's going to have to defend against his own teammate Steven Vaso, trying to get alongside. In fact, nearly trying to get past him as well. The McLaren's going side by side through the swinging S's right here. Gabor Xantos already have moved up one position up to P4. Tomasz Kokony into P5 right there, being hunted down by Tomasetto Ilya. Igor Bajzecki has lost his teammate. Valentino Labella has lost a lot of positions, down to P12. Dennis Langerock going very wide indeed. Nearly overtaking Oleg Napadovsky, but losing the position all the same. Now down to 11th place, but for now then, Jensen Rausen leading from Victor Whittler. Steven Vaso in 3rd. Then there's Gabor Xantos in P4. Igor Pajzecki there now sitting in 7th still as Alexander Demas tried to get past. Will now get a nice slipstream all the way to turn number 12. And there we go then. The Haas going very defensive against the Mercedes indeed. Side by side through turn 12 indeed. Eefko Badi going for the move on Dennis Langerock, trying to get closer to the points as Langerock gets pushed wide into turn 12. Trying to defend against the Ferrari. But still, the Ferrari is struggling to get past the Sauber. Dennis Langerock will have to go around the outside in turn 15. And that is where Eefko Badi finishes off the move at long last. A few corners it took him. But there he goes up into P11. They've lost a lot of time, but still within DRS range. Daniel Kyer getting past Igor Pajzecki now. Igor Pajzecki moved down 2 positions since the race start. Alexander and Daniel having gotten past already. At the end of lap 1 then, Jensen Rausen leading from Victor Whittler, Steven Vaso, Gabor Xantos and Tomasz Kokony. So far so good then. Tomasetto Ilya still within the mix of the top 6 as well. And now I'm going to try and invite you, Aro, and I do apologize. It's going to interrupt the broadcast a little bit, so I can hope to do this quickly indeed. Let's see, where are you? I'm going to do one attempt, otherwise it might just take a little bit too long. Do you have any other drivers? Ah, there you are. Hopefully this works. That went a little bit quicker than I thought. Excellent. So, lap 2, it looks like everybody gone through unscathed so far. It's looking quite excellent. Dennis Langerock, though, still has got a bit of a fight going on with the Ferrari. Once again, he's gotten past in turn 11, and now he's going to have to suffer the slipstream from Eefko Badi as he tries to re-pass the Sauber for what feels like the 5th time already in 2 laps' time. He's going to have to try it around the outside. No way past just yet. And Langerock will be back in business in 11th place through the corners, though. It looks like Ave is actually a little bit quicker, so it might be that Dennis is using a little bit less downforce than the Ferrari driver is. But it looks like for now then, Dennis Langerock has got it settled. Is now going to try chase down Oleg Napadovsky for the point position of P10. Of course, points are a little bit different in PSGL. The winning position scores you 16 points instead of 25. As Victor Whittler now sets the fastest lap of the race. He's showing his pace tonight and is challenging Jensen Rausen for the lead of the race. They've got very close indeed. He had to try go around the outside, but thought better of it as Jensen defended it quite well on the inside. So far then, the Williams still leading The top 4 trying to get themselves loose from the rest of the field without success though, because Tamás and Tomasetta are still pretty much there. Alexander a little bit further back, trying to stay with the Aston Martin. Aro, are you completely in yet?
Yes, I'm in. I'm finally here.
Awesome.
I did see that move from Victor into turn 1, trying to make his way through. I will say, if the VNT drivers in the McLaren, Victor and Stephen, if they can work together to get past Jensen, they can really dominate this race. If they just train each other along, it's really easy to defend if you're a pair. And Jensen now under threat as they head down to turn 12. On the outside goes Victor, and he may have the inside of the next corner as they head through 13. And Victor has it. Jensen falling down to P2, but still fighting this out. As a little bit of a wheel brush as they head through turn 15. There's Gabor on the inside of Stephen Vasso as well. Gabor trying to find his way through, but has to back out, and Stephen keeps P3.
Wow, that was some epic racing there between Jensen and Victor, I have to say. Some beautiful attempted switch bikes by the Williams driver, but no way through Victor just yet. Now then, Victor Whitler taking the lead from Jensen Rausen at the end of lap 3 pretty much. Stephen Vaso under serious threat from the championship leader, who tries to get up into the podium places and therefore allowing the top 2 to get away just a little bit, but not enough to break DRS just yet. So then, it stays stable. Other than that, Tomasetta Ilia, though, is hounding Tomasz Kokony to get into the top 5, which will absolutely delight his fans in the chat tonight, as he will get to try a good result for them. Alexander Dimas, though, not too far behind either. Daniel Kyer is losing a bit of connection to the top 7 as he tries to stay close to the Mercedes, and his own teammate, of course, still sitting in P6. Does allow us a little bit of time to watch the tire situation. And look at that, Aro. The top 12 have started on the mediums, and everybody from 13th downwards have opted for the hards, and of course they have lost the most positions on average. Not surprising, but they're staying within DRS, and they will come into play later in this race.
Yeah, we could see the hard drivers staying out as late as lap 18, maybe even as late as lap 20. You may see the latest driver go in. We'll see how that progresses, maybe as early as lap 16, but they don't really get that advantage if they come in as early as lap 16. So I think all the hard runners here are going to try and extend as long as possible to get that medium advantage towards the end of the race.
Yeah, for now though, it's sitting at the back and waiting. Valentino, Carlos, Wojtek, Zalan, Kasper, Jeremy and Lucas are gonna be playing the waiting game. Lucas Beisner is trying to hang on. He is sitting about 8 7 tenths behind Jeremy Gallagher, who himself is appearing to be struggling a little bit as well to stay with the rest of the field. Let's hope they won't drop out, otherwise it's going to be a long and potentially boring race for them without any points on the horizon. As we now enter lap 5, the top 3 remains quite stable. Gabor Xontos has dropped back a little bit, now finds Tomasz Kokony quite close behind him, I have to say. Tomasetta Ilia still giving on a chase a bit further back. I'm trying to find the closest gap as we speak, but I believe that is Tomasz versus Gabor, about 4/10 of a second. Tomasetta Ilia himself also has quite a tiny gap to Kokony as well, so no mistakes will have to be made by the Alpine driver to ensure he stays in the top 5.
Yeah, bit of a polar opposites are Alpine currently. Thomas up in the top 5, Zalin down in the bottom 5, and meanwhile the McLarens having a strong start here, but can Stephen Vasso work his way past Jensen Rosen? He doesn't seem to be anywhere close to making a move, but can the McLarens work together here to fashion themselves a 1-2 as time progresses? Gabor earlier, I think it was the previous lap, had a look on the inside of Stephen Vasso, but isn't close to making one now.
Yeah, let's see. He's having to fight against Jensen Rausen. That is a tough nut to crack, I have to say. Jensen is fast. His defensive capabilities are quite strong indeed. It's going to be a tough job. Perhaps the undercut for Steven might work. He might want to pit a bit earlier than Victor, perhaps, to ensure he gets ahead of the Williams. And once the Williams himself pits on a lap later, potentially. We'll have to see what's going to happen there. Tomasetta Ilia getting really close now to Tomasz Kokony. Is he going to dive it in turn 1? No, he's keeping behind patiently and waiting for the ultimate moment to make the move. For now, though, don't be surprised if this DRS train is going to last all the way until the first run of pit stops, and potentially the only run of pit stops tonight. Of course, difficulties in passing have become quite common this game, which is a big shame. Dirty air playing a big factor, slipstream not being as powerful compared to that dirty air, as many people now have mentioned by this point. So yeah, this is the situation as it is. Victor Whitler leads from Jensen Rausen, Steven Vaso in third, championship leader Gabor Xontos in fourth.
Yeah, I think everyone just settling now into their strategies. Can the hard runners start to come towards this medium pack? We're not seeing that just yet, but as we get to around lap 8, lap 9, the hards will start to outperform the mediums, and that's where we see the hard runners start to make the way forward through this pack. But Dennis Landrock down in P11, he's actually dropping a bit back from Oleg, and can Dennis reclaim that little bit of gap that's starting to form ahead of him? I think he just about is staying inside DRS, but probably the driver who's struggling the most in this train so far.
Yeah, he though has gained one position since his race start. Started from 12th, now in P11. But of course, him fighting against Oleg Napadovsky hasn't really brought him the results he would have liked to see. Went a bit wide in turn 8 on lap 1 or 2. Trying to get past the Mercedes, of course, is difficult overtaking in that corner. So no surprises there as he moves out of the dirty air right there to cool the engine and the tires a little bit. You see many drivers doing so. The further back we go, the more erratic driving in terms of swerving left or right to just get some cool air into the tires and the engine to make sure they last the distance. We saw Valentino Labella doing the exact same thing on the previous lap on the back straight. He is now closing up to Ave Gabadi, who himself also is struggling at the back of the medium runners, tail end pretty much, to try and stay within the points. Valentino having lost 5 positions, the most of all since the race start, of course. That had mostly due to starting on the hard tires, which doesn't really give you a great getaway on the grid. And now he's going to find himself potentially with a good opportunity to get back closer to the top 10. Carlos Galindo right behind him. That's Jensen Rausen's teammate right there. Waiting behind patiently as well. And no moves of overtaking coming up just yet.
Yeah, if anyone wants to do a 2-stop, it's around now when the 2-stop would be successful. You want to go lap 7 or lap 8, but I doubt we're going to see anyone try the 2-stop in this one. Kota, a very difficult track to pull off the 2-stop. I think everyone going to be staying on the 1-stop here, and it may be lap 12 around where we'll see the pit stops start, maybe even as early as lap 10 or 11. But everyone currently staying out, so definitely everyone's staying with the 1-stop.
Yeah, I just remembered actually that I've seen some drivers attempting the 2-stop and they just missed out on getting back to their original position and improving from it. So it is very close, but you're right. If they wanted to go for the 2-stop, they should have pitted by the end of the previous lap. So I feel like everybody is going to commit to the 1-stop tonight to ensure the best possible results. But that does mean they're going to be stuck in this big long DRS train and find themselves having difficulties making a position. So far it's remaining stable. As you can see, 5 drivers have remained on their original starting position. Steven Vaso hasn't moved, nor has Thomas Ilya or Oleg Napadovsky. Wojtek Steg and Lucas Beisner still in last position. But things might change soon. We're now on lap 8 by this point. The medium tires will have been well past their prime, and that means from Valentino Bella downwards we might start to see them making moves. You can see it happening right there on the back straight. A lot of drivers going to the left side of the track to cool tires and engine, and just sacrificing a little bit of slipstream use there to make sure everything is working well still, especially in this final sector, which is incredibly tricky to go through. Turn 15 especially, Aro, I think will be the most difficult to go through with all the dirty air.
Yeah, yet to see really the dirty air effect. Too many people at tire wear. Steven Vaso already in along with Thomas Cockney. A couple drivers coming in this early. I wouldn't say it's a guarantee that they're all 2-stopping, but it is very early. I did mention earlier in qualifying that you may even see some drivers in super early, but Jensen's left the session. That's going to really cost the Williams here.
Oh no. That is terrible news for the man from pole position. You can see him there now going slower and slower. Of course, ghosting is off. So that means his AI is now become a blockade for the championship leader Gabor Xontos, who's now fully lost connection to Victor Whittler. 2 seconds away, the man in the McLaren now is, and Jensen Rausen's AI is driving around helplessly. Now potentially holding up some other drivers. They will not be too happy about that one, but I don't think that is Jensen Rausen's fault at all. The game sometimes, unfortunately, can be a little bit unstable as his AI goes defensive against Daniel Keijer, who moves past with relative ease. Again, I cannot see when somebody leaves or rejoins, so let's hope he'll be rejoining quickly. Keep me updated here, Aro, should Jensen rejoin, hopefully rather sooner than later, as he's now down in P5 and losing positions fast.
Yeah, unfortunately for Jensen, his car's now just acting like a moving traffic cone as everyone's getting very quickly past him. Hopefully his AI does box or something, which gives him more time to come into the lobby, but I think his AI is staying out, and now he's the very last driver out of the medium runners, as we're seeing a lot more medium runners come in. I'm not sure if it's a two-stop or not. I have seen a lot of drivers stretch the hards a lot longer than you'd think they can go, so it is actually a bit of a toss of a coin what the drivers are doing. I'm not sure if they're doing a two-stop or one-stop at this point.
Yeah, Jensen in the meme on the Discord, very unpleased, so to say. I won't repeat what he was saying, but I can tell you he's very unhappy, as Steven Vaso hasn't managed the undercut on Victor Whittler. In fact, he's slotted in still behind his teammate. Although, of course, the Williams of Jensen is now moved out of the way, all due to not Jensen's fault at all. Of course, a big shame there. And Steven is trying to hang on to Whittler's DRS, and it might indeed be a McLaren 1-2, as Jack was predicting in the chat. As Jeremy Gallonier and, well, I was saying Jensen Rausen, but of course that's the AI of him. We're fighting there, and that actually has allowed Lucas Bison to close up to the Ferrari. Is he going to go for a dive in turn 12? Might be a bit too far away. Yes, he is. He's now up in the points, of course. But they are still on those old hard tires, carrying on for a little bit longer. They've seen drivers pitting quite early on. It is indeed a bit of a gamble, or a guess I should say, whether this is going to be a 1 or 2 stop. They might carry these hards until the end of the race. It will also give an indication to these drivers that they might want to switch to the mediums at lap 20 or 21. A little bit later perhaps than they might have predicted earlier.
Yeah, what I will say though, after all that drama with Jensen lagging out, it has given the McLarens the net P1 and 2 that they've been looking. Victor leads the race essentially from P12, and it's also allowed Thomas Kokone and Tomasetto Ilia up into a net P3 and P4. Gabor has lost touch from the DRS of those cars ahead because of him being blocked through Sector 1 by Jensen's AI. So Gabor's got to somehow catch that lead train, but trains are so important in this game. It's going to be really difficult for the current championship leader to get back up inside DRS range.
Yeah, he's going to have to work together with Alexander and perhaps even Daniel and Eiger to catch up to the front 5, which of course technically is the top 5 once the rest have made their stops. And it's a sad sight, but there's Jensen Rausen's AI. He's already been caught by the drivers he was fighting with. As there we go, Steven Vaso. Oh no! No!
I don't believe what I'm saying.
Jensen's woes have now just become the woes of many a driver. Steven Vaso's bad luck. Unbelievable. Jack in the chat saying the same thing. Steven's luck. I'm not sure what this AI was thinking. Of course, there's no way this can be a penalty for Jensen, as I think he's got no control over his disconnects and absolutely no control over his AI. But that is Steven Vaso's race effectively over.
Yeah, to be honest, I don't even fully blame the AI either, because I think Steven, it was a bit of a surprise to see him send it that heavily into turn 11. He tried to turn as sharp as he could, but missed the apex, and then Jensen's AI was essentially caught in a wheel hook with Steven Vaso. Steven Vaso was still trying to turn as hard left as he could, but he was stuck with the Williams and ended up spinning into the wall on the outside of turn 11. And Steven now, as you mentioned, is essentially, his race is done.
It's unbelievable. There he goes. He's got need a new front wing. He's got to need fresh tires, and unfortunately those are medium tires. As he has picked the balanced tire option, it means he has 2 sets of mediums instead of 2 sets of hards, and he's gonna carry these mediums for 16 laps for the remainder of the race, unless he pits for another time to enable to just put on those hard tires again. But that's a big shame. So unfortunate that this has happened to him once again. His luck just doesn't turn for the better, as when the front of the field we now see Valentino Bella start making the moves that he wanted to make, and against the only 2 drivers remaining on the mediums, that being Oleg Napadovsky and Ave Gabadi. Their mediums are now so old, it's become quite easy for those on the older hard tires to get past. Carlos Galindo is next in line to try and make a move on Ave Gabadi. It's absolutely certain that the Mercedes and the Ferrari are going to go for a one-stop. The rest is still a bit of a question mark. Victor Whittler now reigns supreme, luck being on his side tonight. He is now clear from Tomasetto Ilia, who's now effectively 2nd place, believe it or not. Who would have thought that at the start of the race? From P6 all the way up to 2nd place due to all the woes from the drivers around him. This race so far has been quite full of surprises.
Yeah, and that crash with Steven Vasso, both Tomasetto Ilia and Thomas Cockney had to essentially get on the brakes to avoid them. So that has given Victor Whittler a little bit of margin. He's got around 1.9 seconds of a buffer to the cars behind, so that has given Victor Whittler a bit of a comfortable lead. But can he hold on to the end? There's a couple drivers on differing strategies on fresher tires. Can Victor Whittler hold on to this to the end and get his first win of the season? We will see.
Indeed. Omar, meanwhile, in the chat, seeing that everybody is doing a one-stop. Well, like I said, it's not impossible. They'll have to make sure those tires do last the distance, though, especially those who went in on lap 8. Now only Ave Gabadi remains on the old mediums. He will have the freshest hards, though, of the lot. Once he's made his stop, he's now within a DRS train, which also helps him a little bit, to be fair. It means he can at least stay up to speed on those straights, which will allow you to go very fast indeed. There goes Wojtek Stek, though, with a big dive. Ave simply lets him go, tries to come a little bit back at him to make sure he gets the most ideal line and the most speed through the corners, as he now probably will pit at the end of this lap. Lap 13, we're about halfway through the race. Ave Gabadi, though, no, never mind. Bit of a late move there into the pit lane, as he's now the last of those old medium runners to go for the freshest hards. And let's see where that can bring him from. Well, he's gonna be way down the order, of course. But he will certainly try to climb back up to the top of the field. Now, Valentino Labella is leading the race, and he'll be praying for a safety car, as is the rest on the old hard tires. Victor Whittler has nearly caught up to the main group. They are now nearly a pit stop behind already, but they will soon have the freshest mediums, and they might want to catch up by the end of it.
Yeah, and it really does matter at this point in the race. Can Victor Whittler get ahead, as Jeremy Gallagher gets the first time penalty of the day? And at Coda, normally you see them fly in a lot of leagues, but here in PSGL, it's actually quite rare to see drivers picking up pens. But Jeremy Gallagher is the first here, as Victor Whittler now on the rear of Lucas Beisner, and this little train that leads all the way up to Zalin Bader in P4. Can Victor Whittler get ahead of them as soon as possible? Because if he doesn't, then Tomasetto Ilia and Thomas Cockney will be on his heels in a matter of no time.
That's going to be crucial indeed. Although, well, to be fair, in this big group of cars, there is Wojtek Steg, which just so happens to be Gabor Ksiądze's teammate. Gabor is leading the championship. He knows Victor Whittler is now leading the race. He might potentially become a threat in the championship, so perhaps Wojtek might make life a little bit more difficult for him than the other drivers. But so far, though, he's moved past Lucas Beisner already. He made no big deal out of it. Up next is Jeremy Gallagher, of course. His teammate Ave is far behind Victor Whittler at the moment. And Victor, of course, much faster through the corners, will find himself no problem getting past indeed Jeremy Gallagher, who is now recharging his battery on the main straight. Makes no deal out of it either. And up Victor goes into P6. He's now right in the middle of this pack of cars on the old hard tires. Kasper Vlag and Zalin Bader are up next to overtake. He'll be stuck a little bit now in the S's, which will slow him down a bit more than he will like, allowing Tomasz and Tomasetto to edge just that little bit closer. Will they be within range though? I doubt it. They will have to get past a Sauber and a Ferrari as well, as Steven Vaso is now the second driver. Never mind to get a penalty as he retires. I was commending him for staying out, but of course, not surprising that he throws in the towel now, doesn't he?
Yeah, and as that happens, Victor Whittler did get ahead of Casper Flack through turn 11. Casper, though, really tried to pinch him to the apex as Casper really fighting this, despite Victor being on the better tyres. Casper desperate to try and get back ahead of the McLaren, but I think he's finally conceded the place.
Yeah, I mean, fair play, of course. He's absolutely entitled to fight back. He's not getting blue flagged. Although the question is, how much time is it going to cost him? Apparently not that much. He's still there. Victor Whittler now 2 seconds away from the next 3 cars. That is Wojtek, Carlos and Valentino, who will not be pitting anytime soon. They will be at least pitting on lap number 20. Omar saying that the Hearts can last 26 laps. I doubt they'll be going that long, because that will help not help their race at all. They'll only have 2 laps to catch up, which is nowhere near good enough, as Victor is closing in ever still about 2 seconds clear. Let's see, Tomasz Kokeny has now made the move on Lucas Beisner for P8. He's now going to try and weave his way through the slower drivers on the older tires. Thomas Seto Ilia, same story. He's now stuck though behind Lucas Beisner, but Tomasz Kokeny is still inside. It's a fight for the podium these two are having for 2nd and 3rd place. Behind them, Alexander De Maas is much further back, although he's gaining a lot now through the S's and might potentially become a threat for the podium.
Also, you might have missed Gabor, the championship leader, picks up a 3-second time penalty. That could cost him massively in this one. Whenever the drivers are as close as they are in this lobby, that will cost them a lot of positions here. How much at the end we will see as Jeremy Gagne on the rear of Tomasz Kokeny, almost pushing him down that back straight, as Gabor does get ahead of Alexander. We also have Dennis Landrock ahead of Igor as well.
Yep, he's now up ahead of Alexander De Maas, but that 3-second time penalty is really going to hurt him. Is going to come back to bite him at the end of the race, especially if a safety car comes out. That will become even more painful. Tomasz Kokeny is still fighting his teammate, is now ahead on older tires. I feel like Zalan will move out of the way of Tomasz as soon as he possibly can, and has actually probably made Victor's life a bit more difficult. There goes Lucas Beisner, the first of the hard tire runners to pit for a fresh set of tires. A bit early, I have to say. 12 laps on the mediums. By the end of that, will be absolutely shot, but he's decided to go for it and undercut the rest of the hard tire drivers. It's the only option he has, as he started from last pace, stayed there for quite much of the rest of the race, and now he's going to try and make this strategy work. Let's see if it works in his favor or not by the end of it. It's Carlos Galindo, Valentino Alberto, Wojtek Sterk, the top 3. Victor Whittler catching them fast. Zalan Bieder now still ahead of his teammate. And Tomasz is not as close anymore to Victor.
Yeah, I think Zalan's going to try and now tow him down this back straight, although he's just kind of opened the door. But they're still kind of side by side and battling. And meanwhile, Casper Flack has been absolutely trying to battle all these drivers on a different strategy. Now he's getting swamped up 3 wide. They go down the back straight. And both Jeremy and Gabor get through on Casper, who's still following back yet to do his pit stop in this race, as the Mercedes of Alexander De Maas on the inside of Casper as well. As we head through that final sector, they're still battling over position. Casper fighting everyone tooth and nail, but just doesn't have the grip that these other drivers have on the fresher hards.
Well, we can certainly say he's being feisty tonight. Daniel Collier now on his inside, or outside pretty much, right there as he goes left-handed through turn 19. Of course, Daniel having fresher tires as well as Zalan Bieder and Jeremy Gallonier, the next 2 hard tire drivers to pit for their mediums. They can see the threat that potentially Lucas Beisner is going to be for their positions, even if they are not in the top 10. Once all of these drivers have made their pit stops. There goes Eve Gabadi past the both of them. He's trying to catch up still, but he's quite far behind, 4 seconds behind Oleg Napadovsky, who pitted the lap before him. and he's about 1.3 seconds clear of Igor Piasecki. His fresh tires are starting to work in his favor through the S's especially, of course, as he will get a lot closer to the Haas ahead of him. Now, the top of the field, it is Victor Whittler has now caught up to the top 3. He's bumping Wojtek Steg through turn 11. He wants to get past as soon as he can because Tomasz Kokony is now beginning to gain quite fast. 1.6 seconds. Victor Whittler has to go through these 3 drivers now. Otherwise, they will be upon him come the next few corners. And look at that, Wojtek Steg has decided to go defensive against the McLaren. He's not moving out of the way that easily, and he's gonna potentially heat up the race for the win between these 3 drivers, Tomasz and Tomasetto, gaining fast through the corners. 2 tenths between Victor and Wojtek, and still he's fighting no way through. Perhaps around the outside, no way through there as well. 1.3 seconds and closing in fast. Will he be within DRS range by the end of this stint right here? He's gone across the DRS detection zone without being within a second of it. So no DRS just yet, but he's almost there. And things are getting a bit hot at the front of the field now.
Yeah, Victor now taking the lead of the race on the inside of Wojtek Steg as Tomasz Kokony and Tomasetto Ilia, as Kasper Flack has just decided to retire in the pit lane, I believe.
Yep.
And he's left, and it's crashed the lobby.
Oh, yeah, it's entirely crashed the lobby. Well done, Kasper. Oh, dear.
Well, I was commentating the league about 2 weeks ago, on a Thursday as well, and or maybe 3 weeks ago, but yeah, the same thing happened. The driver who crashed out was the host, left the lobby, and that crashed the lobby, and we've seen that here, unfortunately, in PSGL, where Kasper has left the lobby, and that's just... Unfortunately, it's a game glitch, but Kasper should know better at the same time. But at the same time, the game should not just crash whenever the host leaves. But, well,
it's there's a quick discussion going on right now. Arrow in the chat. I'll keep the guys up to date. Of course, you guys cannot see the Discord. Jona Martens is calling in the help of the general directors. Connor and Kryptonite are hopefully gonna give us some extra answers. At the first, Jonas said that it's going to be half points in the race being done. I'm now back in the lobby somehow. It's back at lap 20, back at lap 1, and all of them are worn 18 lap old soft tires. You've got to see this, guys. I'm gonna switch quickly to the race screen. You will now see some drivers at the start of the field. 18 lap old softs. This is F125 for you. Fascinating.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that is a bit of a known glitch. It has been a thing for years where if you're the host, you never leave the lobby because it can always screw up the lobby. But I think on this game, it's the worst it's ever been. I don't remember it in the past ever just immediately crashing the lobby, but that's now twice I've seen it crash the lobby just immediately because the host left.
Crashed again.
So, unfortunately, I think that's just a thing where if you're hosting, you cannot leave the lobby because on this game, unfortunately, it just immediately crashes the lobby. It reminds me back of whenever you used to play Monopoly with your friends on Xbox, and whoever was the host, if they lost the game and got kicked out, what they would do is they'd just flip the board because they'd leave the lobby, and that would, crash the game for everyone else. So that's a bit of what Kasper's done as well. Just seems to have flipped the table, and unfortunately, we won't get an exciting ending that seemed to be approaching. Thomas Vidler had just taken the lead of the race, but he had 2 quick drivers approaching him of Tomasetto Ilia and who was the other one again? It was
Tomasz Kokony, Tomasetto Ilia, Victor Whittler. They were fighting their way to the front of the field. There was one driver who hasn't pitted yet, Wojtek Steg. He was just overtaken by Victor Whittler. I can see the Discord that Jona Martens has just linked a bit of the rules, section 19 to be precise, called Lobby Collapse, Split Lobby and Glitched Lobby. I will read out section 19.2 for you guys on the stream. If less than 50% of the race has been completed, then a postponement or full restart can be called. Well, that's not the case. So, what's up next? If over 50% but less than 75% of the race, which is the case here, has been completed, the race result can be called with half points awarded. The bonus point for pole position will not be halved. If over 75% of the race has been completed, the race results can be called with full points awarded. So, I'm scrolling back down now. Let's see.
Kryptonite in the chat has just says half points. That it is then. So I think that will be the end, unfortunately. An anticlimactic ending, but I think that is round 3 here in PSGL F3.
Yeah. Jonah made a screenshot of the results just before the lobby crashed. So as it stands now, and this of course is by no way the final results, but as it stands now, the results are as follows. Valentino Lavella will win the race. Carlos Galindo will come second. Wojtek Steg third. Victor Whitler will be in P4. Then Tomasz Kokony, Thomas at Elia, P5 and 6. Gabor Xontos, P7. Alexander Dimas, P8. Then Daniel Keijer and Kasper Flach, P9 and P10. I'm not sure about Kasper though, in P10 right there. Well, what happened to him? Dennis Langrock, P11. Igor Parizetsky, P12, Oleg Napadovsky, P13, then Eve Gobadi, P14, Lucas Beisner, P15, Zalen Bieder, 16th, Jeremy Galanier, 17th, and Jensen Rausen is AI, of course, in last place. And those who will be most sour by this are, of course, those who managed to do a regular pit stop. Victor Whitler, Tamás and Tomasetto, and all the guys who were trying to get to the front of the field will be angry. But I think Zalen and Jeremy will be angry as well, because they pitted the lap before this one, and they are now left in the dust. But, you know, whatever decision is going to be made, Aro, there's always going to be someone unhappy. So, what can you do?
Yeah, is it whenever the lap is completed or when it's started? Because we did see the track was a lot different as we were heading into turn 1 there. I think it was Whitler, and then it was Steg, then it was Kokony and Tomasetta would have been your top 4. So I guess it depends whenever the stewards determine the actual ending of the race, which I do not envy their job today. That is always an awkward thing. But here's the issue you have whenever you get a lobby crash. I mean, as much as I know people will blame it on the host, at the same time, just because the host leaves, it should not just immediately crash the lobby. That is an issue that hopefully can be fixed in the near future, where in previous games, whenever the host would leave, it would pass it on to someone else, the host. Unfortunately, that just is an issue here on F125 that we've had to deal with in several leagues so far.
Yeah, it's... There's a lot of things going on in the Discord right now. Someone is saying rerun next week would be fair. Others are saying, well, no points at all would be a better option than half points. Jonah wanted to make a bit of a poll for a vote for the 3 options, but I doubt that's going to do any good. Just an announcement there. A vote for a rerun next week. So next week, normally, of course, would be the break week. And that means that is going to be the determining factor, I'm afraid. You will also not be surprised that we're not going to be doing any interviews. I don't think any of the drivers are going to be in the mood to tell us about how epic this race was. Because it went from quite nice to, well then, I've had no words, pretty much. That's what the status is right now. So yeah, a bit of an anticlimactic ending, to be honest.
Yeah, what I will say is in the other league I was commentating where it happened, it then made the standings look awful because then half points were introduced, the dreaded half points, and I think for the rest of the season we're going to have the dreaded half points here in PSGL with some of the drivers, which is going to be a bit of an eyesore, but unfortunately when these things happen, you just have to make do with what you have. But personally, if it were me running the league, I would just say, right, lads, whoever's retired in the race, unfortunately won't be seeing you again, but it's a 5-lapper for the rest of everyone else. 5-lapper to the end. But unfortunately, wow. I don't think that's in the rules, and I don't think many drivers would be happy with a 5-lapper to just an absolute shootout until the end.
Yeah, it's undetermined at the moment. Currently, the votes lean in favor of a rerun next week, but I think every driver will have to get a vote in that one. Also, some drivers saying they can't make it next week. Of course, that would be quite unfair to them as well. Carlos Galindo being one of them, although, of course, he finished second place, so I'm not surprised he says that, to be honest. Hashtag conspiracy. Anyway, yeah, it's difficult to call right now on what's going to happen. So, yeah, well, there's your first outing here, Aro, in PSGL F3. Probably not the way we wanted to get us going here, but it is what it is. There's nothing we can do about it, unfortunately. Still, though, I hope you guys all enjoyed the race for what it was, because it was quite interesting to see the different strategies. Could have turned out into a very interesting battle for the win, because Tomasz Kokony was getting awfully close to Victor Witter there. Whether he was able to remain in DRS range remained to be seen, of course. We'll never know. But yeah, as I said, this is what it is, and well, anything we have to say here before we end it tonight, Aro?
I honestly, if I were being more serious, I do think half points is possibly the fairest place to end it, because there will be drivers who have planned their holidays around the calendar, because even in my own league, I will make sure that my holidays are planned around the break weeks. So I think that will really annoy some drivers if the race is rerun while they're on holiday next week. So I do think half points might be just the fairest way to end this this round.
Yep. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Either way, thank you so much for joining us tonight here in F3. Make sure to swap over to F2, which is about to start the race, I think, as we speak. No of F4, unfortunately, tonight. Neither F5 is broadcasted due to some commentators dropping out. That is also what it is. Either way, hope you enjoyed the race, like I said, for what it was. Have a great morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are. We'll see you perhaps next week for a rerun of Kota. If not, we'll see you in 2 weeks' time for the 4th round on the calendar, which is going to be Monaco. Quite the interesting one as well. For now, though, from both me and Aro, good day, and we'll see you next time. Same place, same time. Until then, goodbye.